Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Innovators Live and another beautiful cloudy day. I'm Debbie Cabrera, your host for today, and we also have a wonderful guest for today's session where we'll cover building applications in the AI era. Before I introduce my guest, let me review a few things here. First and foremost, our chat. If you're joining us live, you are able to ask questions and share comments in our chat, and one of our moderators will do their best to answer them, and we'll even select some to answer live at the end of the show. If you're not joining us live, the chat feature isn't available, but you can see the questions that were asked and answered. No matter how you're joining us today, make sure you go to cloudonair.withgoogle.com and you'll see all of our upcoming live episodes and all of our on-demand sessions as well. Okay, let's get on to the exciting stuff. Our guest today is going to take us on a journey through a fun and educational AI presentation and demo. Balaji Rajam. Welcome, Balaji. It's always a pleasure to see and to work with you. How are you doing?
Doing well. Thanks for having me. I think this is my 4th time, and I'm supposed to get some gift as part of this.
Yes, you are a veteran Innovators Live. So thank you so much for being here. You always have really insightful information, so I'm not just saying this. I do love having you on here. So can you give us the scoop on what you're going to share with us today?
Yeah, we will talk through what are some of the things which we are hearing from our customers, and we will talk about how things have changed since like 2023, which was the year of massive Gen AI hype. But now that is starting to land, and people are starting to really look at how can I use this to improve my business value to my end customers. So we will go through some of the key points which we are hearing from customers, and then we will do a fun demo where we build a recipe app using our Gen AI tools, which it's not meant to be a very complex app, but it really illustrates what are the tools and services which Google Cloud has for you to quickly iterate and build a pretty decent app.
Yeah, and I love this demo. We've talked about this. We love food, right?
Yeah.
We're both big food fans. So this demo is actually really helpful because it helps you look through all the recipes that you might have lying around.
Yeah, and if you have any questions about the recipe, there's a chat bot where you can ask questions, and we will show all of that later today. And for people who have registered ahead of time, you probably will have access to a Quick Labs, where you can. It is a built-in environment where you can try out this entire lab, start to finish, without having to set up any of your environment. So please check that out. And for people who are joining us later, I think we will have a Code Labs link in the resources tab where you can go and try out this lab. There are detailed instructions for you to try out.
Yes, exactly. And we'll go through how to access that Quick Lab in a slide, so don't worry about that. But for now, do you want to get us started?
Let's get started. So these were typical yesterday's applications. Say you are a family traveling to Greece and you're looking for kid-friendly hotels in Greece. You go to your typical website and search for it, and it throws up a whole bunch of results, and you are left to figure out what exactly is a best match for you. But modern applications are a lot more interactive, right? It asks you questions, tries to understand what your need is, and really gives you the results which you're looking for, so that you're not left with the task of figuring out things for yourself, right? It is much more intuitive and personalized. And that's the direction which we are seeing. And even now, the expectations of consumers have changed, where if we go to a chat website, like a e-commerce site, we expect to be able to ask questions and find out more information. So when you start building those modern applications, these require an extensive array of capabilities to be successful. First is scale. Previously, your applications were restricted most of the time catering to like a very small audience, which is based in your geography and so on. But that has changed, right? With the power of social media and so on, you're able to reach consumers far from across the globe. So your application needs to be able to scale to serve millions of users. So the other one is security, right, which is becoming very critical because there is always some amount of security threats going on at any point in time. So your applications you build have to be reliable, secure, and continuously available. That's also a huge thing, because if you are running an e-commerce site, you cannot afford to have like an 8-hour downtime. Right? One of the customers whom I worked with in the past said 1 hour of downtime costs them $1 million. They're a Fortune 10 customer, but it may not be that as big for other customers, but it's still important. And then you need to have the ability to innovate, right? Provide new and better customer experiences to your end consumers so that you can differentiate yourself from your competition. So the platform which you use needs to give you the ability to experiment quickly and move faster. And ultimately, a lot of this is built on data foundations where you have to have AI-ready databases that you can use to actually power your application. Because gone are the days of using legacy databases to power your applications. You need databases which can do a plethora of things. So like when you start building applications like that in the past, that's not going to work in the modern era. And when people who have worked in like traditional enterprise applications, you have the VP of apps and you have the VP of databases. So the VP of apps focuses on developer toil, agility, cloud observability, and security. And the VP of databases focuses on database performance, scalability, security of the data, making sure the data platform is future-proof, and you have advanced capabilities for building GenAI applications. Previously, a lot of them used to operate in silos. So there used to be this whole dance which needs to happen to coordinate with the database team to ensure that you can deliver an application on time and within budget. But now they need to be a lot more integrated together so that they can work off of each other to build the kind of services which the business needs.
Yeah, and just on that, I feel like I say this a lot. Maybe if you heard me before, I'll sound like a broken record. But yeah, data and AI go hand in hand, right?
Yes.
You might have great AI, but if you don't have a database that can power it, if you don't have good data, it's not going to be as great as it can be, really.
Yeah, and ultimately, when you leverage the power of AI, the data is your secret sauce because if you have been a business who have been around for a long time, you have so much data which you can leverage to personalize the AI services. People who have used GenAI tools know that, yes, GenAI tools provide some certain answers, but when you personalize that with your own data and ground that in your own data, that's when the true power of AI is unlocked.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. So when it comes to building modern applications, if you look at the operational complexity which enterprises deal with, that is actually hindering the ability to innovate and compete. There is so much time wasted between context switching when it comes to developers. They are in their documentation, they are in their IDE, and so on. So that limits the productivity gains which you can have. And when you look at the duplicated effort to build and deploy applications, which happens across a lot of industries, that means that you have a slower time to market. And then you have technical debt and legacy databases, which really hinder your ability to innovate and build more modern services. If you're using a very legacy database, it cannot be used as a vector store for your AI applications. That makes it more costly to maintain, and it really limits innovation. And then lack of standardization also means that your applications could run into high security and compliance risk as well, especially in regulated industries like financial services and healthcare. This becomes a huge challenge. So we want to make sure that the technical teams have the best experience to build the future, basically adopting AI-supported development practices for building your applications. So Google Cloud is your partner for building modern applications. We have infrastructure which is built for scale, right? Our Google Kubernetes Engine, or GKE, can operate at a 10x the larger scale than any of our competitors, right? And when you look at AI expertise and leadership, this whole wave of Gen AI was triggered by the Transformer paper, which we published in 2017. And we have been using AI for such a long time, it almost becomes kind of second nature to. I think we published a paper in 2016 where we talked about how we reduced our power consumption in our data center by 50% using AI. Right? And one of the things which people don't see is how we use AI to actually filter out all the spam which you used to get in Gmail. I think it is like 3 billion pieces of spam messages which we filter out, which you don't even ever see. So that's how powerful and our use of AI has been for the longest time within Google. And we also have industry-leading databases where you can have a globally available database like Spanner, which is consistent across the globe and available all the time. right? And we also have AlloyDB, which is the improvement upon the Postgres engine, which can function both as your transactional data store, your vector data store, and it can even do some amount of analytics. And we have world-class security, right? Since 2020, Google Cloud has had 75% fewer critical and high severity security issues than our competitors.
Few things on here. It says, Google used AI to write more than a quarter of its new code.
Yes.
This strikes me because recently, I haven't been able to get my own statistic yet, but I feel like it's been helping me write more than a quarter of my own new code as well.
Yep.
Have you experienced that?
Oh, very much so. Because one thing which I tell people always is back in the day, when I learned computer science, I spent a lot of time learning syntax and semantics. I think that is actually going away. You no longer have to worry about, oh, is there a colon here or is there a semicolon here? Because that was a language semantics. Now, you can ask Code Assist for help and it actually completes that for you. So that is essentially getting eliminated and it lets you focus on the more creative aspect of coding.
Yeah, and you mentioned AlloyDB. We recently did a roadshow in Q4, and we did a few AlloyDB labs. Those are also available on Code Labs. And I just want to, if you want to play around with that, you can really see how you can do kind of everything in one place.
Absolutely. Yeah. So one of the areas which has been a lot of interest to customers, because when you start building applications for the more modern era, you need to have a platform which can actually cater to all the needs of your applications. And when you're a large enterprise, you need a platform like that so that different teams within your organizations have consistent way of building applications. That makes it more maintainable, ensures it follows all the security and compliance policies of your organization, so on and so on. So we work very closely with Sabre. Sabre, if you make any kind of airline booking, I think it practically goes through Sabre, I think 99% of the time. So we worked with Sabre to actually help them build out their application platform. And we have had a very strong opinion as far as when it comes to platform engineering is concerned. And another example is a customer called Regenology, where we work with them to actually help them adopt AlloyDB, actually, just like what you said, because they felt like that is a much better way to leverage their data to improve their chatbot and provide services to their customers. And the next one was we were working closely with Turing, and they have been an early partner for Code Assist right from it launched nearly, I think, well over a year ago at this point. And they saw productivity gains of around 33% when they started using Code Assist. And that means that they have boosted developer productivity, faster time to market, and much more streamlined onboarding.
Yeah, again here with the productivity gains, I just feel that a lot in my own experience. I was just creating an app last week and I had set the whole day to be able to do it, and I actually had some free time after.
That's because you're smarter.
No, it's because of the Code Assist. Yeah, truly, it's really changing the productivity gains game.
True. And millions of developers are building with Gemini, right? Gemini is providing a wide variety of services to actually build new applications, especially with Gemini Code Assist. We have seen so much productivity impact internally. There's a 40% faster completion time for our common dev tasks, 50% less time writing tests, 55% less time writing new code because the code is actually getting generated for you. And I think one of my favorite things is actually the 55% less time understanding new code. As developers, you are always thrown into fixing or updating somebody else's code. And back in the day, when I used to be a developer, writing code every day, used to spend so much time trying to do a dry run of the code, trying to understand what exactly a block of code is doing. And now you can just select the code, right-click on it, and say, hey, Gemini, explain the code to me.
Yeah, and also another one that I love is that you can use Gemini to comment the code as well. So not only do you make it easier for yourself, but also for that other person, you have the comments in there and you have the explain this function.
Exactly. For lazy developers like me who don't write enough comments, that is a fantastic feature. With that, I'll hand it over to Gemini, to Debbie, to talk, not Gemini, Debbie, to talk about what's next.
You can call me Gemini if you want. No, kidding, of course. Okay, so what's next? And that means what's next after this event? first, you can continue exploring this lab. So once this live broadcast concludes today, you'll have the opportunity to explore the lab in another platform, as Balaji mentioned before, Code Labs, and you'll receive instructions on how to do that in a follow-up email. So don't worry if you aren't able to do it now or you haven't registered early. What else? You can try out more Google tools. So you can join our innovators community and develop new skills with 35 no-cost monthly credits to use on courses and hands-on labs in Google Cloud Skills Boost, which is the lab that we'll be using today in the live demo, or will be the lab that you get access to today. And then number 3, join us at Google Cloud Next 2025 in Las Vegas. Discover new and upcoming innovations at Google Cloud Next, and you can get inspired by the technical talks we have. You can tackle skill boosting challenges and get your questions answered, as well as connect with other fellow developers. And we're really excited to offer you the lowest ticket price at $999 if you register by February 28th using the code DEV999VIP at checkout to redeem this offer. I'm really excited about Next this year.
Very much so. Do you remember the penalty kick demo, which was there on the floor last year?
Yes.
Which was fascinating to me. That was a cool use of AI tools. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Looking
I know some other people that are building some cool demos for this year as well. So.
Yeah, and the exciting thing about coming to Next is hearing from all the other people who are using Google Cloud in so many innovative ways, and you hear about use cases and scenarios which you normally wouldn't.
100%.
Yeah.
Getting in front of people that you don't normally see every day. It really is the best. Okay, so let's get into accessing the lab. So what I like about this lab is it covers a lot of the points that you made, right, Balaji, about modern data development, data foundations, and how you can infuse AI into that and kind of make them go hand in hand. And that it uses a lot of different products, right? We'll use Vertex AI Agent Builder, of course, Gemini Code and Cloud Assist, BigQuery, cloud storage, Colab Enterprise Notebooks, and more. So we're going to get a good view of all the different products, many different products and services that you can use in the cloud. I really love this demo. Okay, but before we jump in, let's go over how to access the lab. So if you're joining us live, go ahead and open up an incognito or anonymous window in your browser. And then you can go to the Quick Labs URL we have on the screen here, explore.quicklabs.com. Once you're there, you can sign in with your account. Now, make sure it's the same account that you used to register for this live webinar. Your email was previously registered, so if you try to sign in with a different email, it will not work. Just make sure you're using that same email. And if you're just joining us and you didn't register earlier, you may not have access to this lab. But the good news is there will be a very similar version of this lab, as we mentioned, that you can complete in Code Labs on demand once this event is over. And again, you'll receive that information via email. So once you've signed in, you can go ahead and click the box, Building Apps in the AI Era Technical Demo. It'll look like this image here. And from there, you'll be taken to the classroom to start the lab. Now, very important, don't click Start the Lab until you're ready to start the lab, because there is a time limit on these labs. And once the time is up, you will not be able to pick up where you left off. You have to start from the beginning. Yep. These do have to be done in one shot. The good news is that this version of the lab will be available until the end of the California day, which is where we are today, 11:59 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So you have all morning, afternoon, or evening, depending on where you're joining from, to complete that. Yep. Yeah. So if you want to do the lab after today, as I mentioned, there's that on-demand version, and you'll get all those instructions. Okay, and if you're having any trouble, reach out via chat to see if we can help you get access. All right, let's go on to the demo.
Thanks, Debbie. And at this point, one thing which I want to reiterate is two things. One is making sure you are in an incognito window. We use Quick Labs all the time at our various events, and that inevitably happens where people open it in a window where they're already signed on to with a different set of credentials, and it creates issues. And the other thing which I want to say is I think the lab is for 4 hours, or yes, 4 hours. But we did it in events, and I think most people were able to complete it in an hour or an hour and a half, I think.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it probably won't take longer than 2 hours.
Yeah.
But just in case, there has been times where I have been like, oh, I'll be right back.
Yes.
And then
don't start it when you're in the middle of a 3-hour meeting.
Yeah, yes.
Cool. So the first thing which we want to show is around cloud workstations. So cloud workstations is a development environment in the cloud. I love this so very much because it lets me have different workstations for different demos and stuff which I do. So I have one for this, I have one for a different set of demos I do. So I don't have to tinker with the environments each time I need to do a demo. And the nice thing about this is you can actually use it with your local IDE as well. Okay. You can connect from your local IDE into your cloud workstation and use it as if the entire thing is on your local machine. But from an organization perspective, it makes sure that all the files and the data stays in the cloud, right? So once you hear the pre-warming step of the Qwiklabs should already have created the cluster and have the workstation ready for you. All you do is, if it's not started, click start. It'll take a couple of minutes to start up, and then you click launch, and then you will get a window like this, which kind of looks like the opening of it's actually a managed VS Code, right? VS Code instance, and you will download the code to your machine, and this is actually what it looks like. So it's a very simple application, right? It's a recipe search and a cooking advice application, fun stuff. And we will go into the code a little bit later, but one of the first things which you do as part of this is actually creating a data store for an agent. Agents are all the rage these days. So we will actually start creating an agent. So we have something called an agent builder. And so obviously, since it's a demo, I have done all of those steps, just like the cooking shows, right? So we have data stores here. In one of the data stores, what we are doing is we are actually just storing files. So if you go to recipe, old cookbooks folder, and if you click on one of these files, this is actually the complete book of cheese.
Oh, wow, my favorite book.
Yes. Complete book of cheese, and we have a whole bunch of cookbooks which are in the public domain, which we downloaded and uploaded to a Google storage bucket.
Yeah, and these are old cookbooks, right? Old cookbooks, if I'm not mistaken, yes.
Yeah, these are all in the public domain, so we don't want to violate any copyright.
Yes,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah, so we uploaded all of this to a Google storage bucket, and here, when you do create an agent, you can actually specify a data store, which can be like a BigQuery database, a Cloud SQL database. It can be a storage bucket as well. So what happens when we do this is it actually takes all this data and it's almost creating like an inbuilt RAG, like a retrieval augmented generation. So it indexes all that data and does it for you. So that way you don't have to deal with the task of, oh, I need to find the right algorithm to do create the embeddings. I need to find the right algorithm to find do the searching and so on. So all of this is taken care for you because that makes it much more easier for you to build the application. So once the data store is created, you actually go back and you can actually create an app. So in this particular case, we have done a recipe search app, which actually, this is actually the cookbook search app where you can actually go and search. And the fun thing is you can actually search and test it here too before you even build the app. But we have actually built an app which we have deployed on Cloud Run already. So in this case, we can actually search recipe chili recipe.
Oh, chili, delicious.
It's cold, so I thought we might use chili. So one of the things which we have done in this particular search is we have actually grounded it using Google search as well. So it is actually pulling stuff from both the books which we have had and also other places as well. So if you look at, these are all the results which it found in the cookbooks which we uploaded. So it has things mothers used to make, a collection of old-time recipes, right? So, so this is a quick way to create an agent and to actually test it out as well. Once you're done with that, you can actually go in and create another data store. I think that will be one of the steps in your this one, where you actually create a data store against a BigQuery one. So for the BigQuery one of the things which we are doing is we have a spreadsheet with a lot of information about recipes, and that we are going to use our Colab notebook to actually upload to BigQuery. And this is actually one of my I am not a very smart person when it comes to Colab. I am pretty dumb. I know how to be dangerous.
You're inexperienced, let's say that.
Yes, maybe that you put it much more nicer than I did, right? So what it does is it actually taking a CSV file which has all the information, and you can actually use Colab Enterprise to actually consume that data and upload it to BigQuery. So what we are doing is we are taking the information, parsing it, retrieving the right information, and pushing it to BigQuery. So one of the things which it can do is it can actually suggest code as well. So actually you start doing it, as you can see, it types ahead and gives you suggested code. So Code Assist actually works within your Colab Enterprise as well. So if you're somebody who is new to Colab Enterprise, an easy way for you to get started is just write a comment in natural language, and Colab Enterprise will generate the code for you.
Yeah, and I love doing it this way because you said like you can play around with it first, you can test different things, you can use Gemini Code Assist to adjust the code if you want. You don't have to go and change it in your app right away. You can kind of do it in here and see how it works. You can ask it in natural language to remove remove columns, rename those columns, add things. So in the lab, you'll see that as well. You kind of test out all the different things that it can help you with along the way and make this even faster.
Yeah, and it has an underlying runtime engine which can actually run this code and give you live results as well. So once you do that, you have pushed all the data into the BigQuery instance which we are using, and that is actually what we are going to connect using Agent Builder into the data store.
Yeah, and I will say I've used Agent Builder a few different times at this point, probably like 7 to 10 different times.
Wow.
And not only is it constantly improving, I feel like each time I go in there, I see something new, but it is really quick. Like in a couple clicks, you do have a search app or a chatbot or something like that spun up to kind of try out things. It's very, very fast.
Yeah, the first time I tried, I'm like, I don't understand anything about Gen AI. Let me try what this thing is, and I was very surprised with the results what it was able to give.
Yeah.
This is the end result of actually processing the spreadsheet data using Colab Enterprise and uploading it to BigQuery. So you see all the data which has been uploaded already. This is a schema for the database table in BigQuery, where we have the directions, the title, and the URL, and you see all the individual documents here. And after that, we actually built an application. One was for searching through the cookbooks, which we showed you earlier, and same thing for a recipe search as well. So both those applications have been created. Now let's go to the actual code actually. It's a very simple Streamlit application. Somebody told, I don't know much about Streamlit, somebody showed it to me. It was a very simple way to create a quick web application. So it was very helpful.
Yeah, I actually used it. That app I was telling you about that I was creating last week, I needed to put a quick front end on it.
Yeah.
So easy and simple. Just pull
Very
it
much
in,
so.
make a few edits. It really is great.
Yeah, so this is actually some of the code which you see. Let's ask, what is this code doing? So I'm going to use Gemini Code Assist to say, explain this to me. So let me, in this particular...
Oh yes, this is a great thing to point out. Since this is a separate area, like if you're using a Gemini Code Assist anywhere else, you might have to log in here and just make sure you're in the right project, maybe enable an API, because we want to make sure that the right project is logged in for Code Assist as well as for whatever else you're working on. So you will find this every time I'm doing a lab or something, I find myself, yes, you have to log in a few times just to make sure that you can use it in the right place.
And so now Gemini Code Assist has gone ahead and explained the code to me. So it's saying initializes a chat session with a large language model and configures to use specific data store for grounding its responses. And it's also breaking down the individual steps of what it is doing. So it's a very easy way for you to understand what the code is doing and make changes to it much more easily. So within your code labs, please try this out. I know it is tempting to just copy paste the commands and just rush through the code labs. You have 4 hours to do the code labs. So please make sure you take the time to try out all the things which we are mentioning in the Quick Labs as well as the Code Labs, so that you can actually understand the power of these tools.
Yeah, especially if you're used to programming in maybe a different language
Yes.
than what some of these labs have, or what this app is in, then you can really understand what's happening by getting the full explanation. And it's very thorough. As he said, it goes through every single line and tells you what's going on.
Exactly. And one of the other things which I used to like to do in Code Assist is, can you create a test plan for this? Because I used to hate writing test plans.
Oh, yes, testing. Very important. Very important.
Yeah.
Of course. We all do it.
Yes.
We must.
We don't want to test in
Yeah.
production.
Yeah.
Some people do it, but I
Yeah.
prefer not to.
Yeah.
So it's actually going to create a test plan and give you instructions on what should be covered as part of the test. And let's see. So what it's actually using unit test mock.patch to mock certain Vertex AI in it. And it is actually providing you all the steps which is necessary to create a test plan for this, right?
And you don't even have to leave the IDE, right? So you
Yep.
have your code there, you're like, oh, I need some tests, can you just help me with that? And also, if you have any other questions about the other files that you have open or other Google Cloud questions, you can ask how to do it right here in the Gemini Code Assist chat in the IDE.
I think that's a great point, because very often all of us used to have like Stack Overflow open, Google Search open, documentation open while we are writing code. This actually lets you stay just in this window and ask the appropriate questions to move ahead with that.
Yeah. We all have, well, maybe not all of us. Some of us have many, many tabs open all the time. And once you go out into tab land, it's hard to come back sometimes.
How are you doing on time, Debbie?
I think we're good on time.
Okay.
Yeah, we have 30 more minutes.
Wonderful. So let's look at the code where we are actually calling the app. So in this particular case, we are actually making a call to Gemini to actually retrieve the appropriate data when there's a chat message is sent. And let's look at the other recipe search one, which is also doing something similar, where we are actually going to let's actually do and explain this on this. So,
Live demo. I love trying out different things. I feel like he asked me how we were on time, so he could show this special piece here, which is exciting.
explain this file.
And I'm not joking when I say that I use this all the time. I know it sounds corny, like, oh, they're paying her to say this. No, no, really, I do. I use it all the time. It's just very helpful, because even working at Google Cloud, I mean, you've been here, what, 10 years?
8 years.
8 years, yeah. Me 5. Even all that time, there's so many products, so many services, so much different knowledge that it's nice to have that friend there that you can kind of just ask different questions. I know Balaji and I both tend to work late at night, so when you can't, ask other people those questions because they're sleeping, Gemini Code Assist is there to help you
And
out.
when you can't phone a friend, you ask Gemini,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. So, so I did explain this file in this, and it's Gemini has come out with explanation of the entire file on all those steps which is doing. The import steps, the search sample step, where it is actually retrieving information from our data store, and it's also telling you how the Streamlit app is functioning, right? Whether the query block, where it is actually retrieving the results and displaying it back to you. And we actually deployed this on Google Cloud Run. So let's go to the agent builder stuff, where we let's go to Cloud Run, where we actually have this application deployed. So Cloud Run, have you used Cloud Run before, Debbie?
Yes, I use it a lot. I love deploying my apps there. I feel like it's the easy, fast way to deploy.
Exactly, because it is completely serverless. You don't need to create a cluster or to really understand all the fine tuning which you need to do to make an application function well. So you can easily deploy it. And the nice thing is it only really consumes resources when there are actually requests coming into it, right? So this is a recipe app which we have deployed. And let's go into that app. And here's the URL for the app which has been deployed. And
what you mentioned, Cloud Run, right? So when you're not using it, you don't have to worry about undeploying it or anything like that. It only uses resources when you're calling it, when you're opening the service.
Correct. So we have our recipe search app in here, and we have our cooking advice app in here. So let me ask the cooking advice app on for some recommendations while that's coming up.
Oh yeah, I wonder what should I have for dinner today, this evening?
Cooking advice. I'm going to ask, like, I have some vegan friends who are vegan.
Oh, okay.
So let's see, what can I use as a substitute? Only if I can type better. Maybe Gemini can help with that.
Actually, a quick note on that. Sometimes if you misspell things, not in your code, but if you misspell things when reaching out to your AI, it'll actually still understand you, which is very nice. Maybe you've used other LLMs and chatbots that are out there and you notice this, but it really makes it so that in natural language, not all the time do we type correctly or say things in a way that is completely comprehensible,
Yeah.
So
So I'm going to pretend I made that spelling mistake on purpose.
Oh, pretend. It was totally not.
So I'm asking, hey, what can I use as a substitute for butter to make a recipe vegan? So it gave me a whole bunch of options, like applesauce, neutral oils, coconut oil, peanut butter, almond butter. All those are options.
Oh, that's great. And honestly, I have a lot of dairy-free friends.
Yeah.
So, making brownies or anything like that, applesauce, I hadn't considered that.
Fantastic.
Nice.
Cool. Let's look at recipe search. Let's see. I have a lot of mushrooms in my house.
Mushrooms?
Yeah, not the magic kind. The regular
Oh,
mushrooms.
just the, right.
Mushroom recipes.
Ooh,
Mushroom migas. I've never heard of a mushroom migas.
me neither.
I love migas though.
Well, this is great because, when I want to make dinner and I say, okay, I have one leek and some turkey, what can I make with this? This is wonderful, right? And we created this in what? I mean, in total, it'll be
Like an hour and a half at most.
Yeah. And you just have an app that can help you with everyday tasks, of course, but also in your business with other tasks aside from everyday home tasks.
Fantastic. So that pretty much concludes our demo.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great demo.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's. Is there anything else which we should show?
Well, no, I think actually we're going to go to some questions, but I just want to say that I love this demo. I mentioned because it touches so many different services, right? We went to Agent Builder, we had BigQuery, we created the data store, then we used Cloud Run, and it was so quick. And it shows kind of like the sheer difference between how much faster we can develop applications and software now because of these AI resources that we have and how seamlessly they integrate into our current development lifecycle, right? We've both talked about how much that's changed for us. So now we're going to take a quick break for questions and we'll select a few to answer live on air. And we'll see you in a sec. And we are back. Okay, let's get into answering these questions. Let's get right into it. So, a question came in, which tools to choose when developing an AI app?
The broad answer is it depends, right? It ultimately depends on the use case which you're trying to service, because with developing, there's no AI app per se, right? AI app for me means like the Gemini app, right? More about like apps which are powered using AI. I think that's the way I think about it. I think that's probably what the person who asking the question is intending. So it depends on the use case, whether if you're using, say, the great example is what we showed in the demo today and which you can try out in the Quick Labs, where how quickly you're able to leverage AI within an app, right? Because if you look at the overall code which we wrote, the part about utilizing AI is probably like 2 or 3 lines at most. Rest of us was a standard app. All we did was made the call to the right API and retrieve the right information. I think that's where it boils down to. And if you are looking at more complex applications where you need to chain results from one AI call to another and make decisions based on that, then you start looking at tools like LangChain and whatnot.
Yeah. And, to go along with that, you can decide on, do you want to use a proprietary model, an open source model, an open model? There are many different ways that you can access an LLM as well. So.
And I think that's a very important point, Debbie, because one of the things which Vertex AI lets you do is lets you choose your own model. Because we have our foundational models, which are Gemini, I think the Gemini 2.0 Flash, which went GA last week, I think. And we also have like third-party models, like models from Anthropic, Mistral, and so on available. And we also have a whole variety of models from Hugging Face, which are open source models available for people to use. So pick the best model which is ideal for your use case. I think that'll be my advice.
Yeah, exactly. And even the most recent DeepSeek, you can actually try it out on Vertex AI.
Oh, I haven't tried that out.
Yeah,
That
yeah.
should be fun.
And I think Vertex has over 300 different models you can try. So, yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, next question. So why is AI important for modern apps?
More than AI important for modern apps, the way I look at it is customer expectation has changed so drastically, right? I think when we were all stuck at home for COVID, our expectations of what an app should do or what the kind of customer experience we hope to give, hope to get, has changed quite a bit. I think one of the stats which I read a long time ago is it takes you 66 days of doing the same thing over and over again to actually become a lifelong habit. And a lot of us were stuck at home for a lot longer than that. And that has really changed our expectations out of how we look at what we need from a company or an enterprise. And so some of those functionality, for instance, being able to have an interactive conversation about a particular product. Say if you're buying, say, even prepared food from a store, you want to be able to ask, hey, what are the allergens in it? Say if you're allergic to certain things, you need to be able to really understand how it works. And things like, say, if you're buying a piece of clothing, hey, everybody has a different body type. How would it look on a certain body type? Being able to ask those questions and interact with it, or maybe even see that piece of clothing on different body types. I think that is a feature, one of the capabilities which we released a long time ago as Google. And so those kind of capabilities are becoming more and more important into the app. And I think that is why providing a more modern experience is made easier using AI. I think that's the way I think about it.
Yeah, and also what you were talking about before, right, with the personalization. So the body types, or we've the sunglasses try on things, right? Every day that's getting better. And I would also encourage what you mentioned before, like look at your use case. Don't just assume like, oh, I need to use AI. There's also an argument to say like AI can probably be integrated into almost any use case that you have, but really don't just try and use AI because you think you need to. Really take a look at your use case and understand how it would benefit you.
Correct.
Okay, so next question. So how would you integrate AI into an app? There are a bunch of different ways, right? We mentioned some of them, but yeah, you can do what we did today. You can make an agent. You can call a model into your app to bring in grounding from search or RAG. You can use it to structure your data or collect your data. Recently, with a group, we were doing a little bit of a hackathon, and we built an app where we uploaded pictures of our clothing, and then we used the model to kind of put metadata to it and say, like, this is a black blazer, this is a sequined silver blazer. So kind of playing around with the multimodality of it too, I think can be really fun. And you can find a lot of different ways to integrate in that way.
Yeah, and again, goes back to the initial point you were making, right? Around what is the use case which you're trying to solve for. And that also dictates to some extent how you integrate AI into your app. I think you were there last week at Developer Week here in Santa Clara, where one of the demos one of our colleagues did was he was running everything locally from the browser. He was using Web AI and Gemma 2.0 to actually power an application which was completely running locally with no internet connection, because he wanted to show that as a use case. And that worked really well. So it ultimately boils down to what are you trying to accomplish as far as a use case is concerned. And I think that will determine your strategy.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, this is a good one. AlloyDB, I feel like that's really your wheelhouse. Are there any worthwhile performance benefits of using AlloyDB in a non-generative AI app versus just staying with something like Cloud SQL?
Definitely. I think even though the AlloyDB product is built on top of a Postgres engine, we have done so much work into improving the performance of it. I forget the exact stat, but it is so much more performant than the standard Postgres instance which you get through Cloud SQL. So, and the other thing is AlloyDB also provides you the capability to do analytics. So if the use case for your application is, hey, I don't want to invest in a huge data warehouse for my application, but there are certain analytics use cases which I would still like to use. I think AlloyDB is a fantastic fit for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so how do you collect data for AI models? So again, there's many different ways you can do this. There are, obviously if you have your own data, that could be CSVs, PDFs, Word documents, anything like that. Or even now going into the multimodality, right? Videos, images, different things like that. And then also you can it can help you structure your data. So even if you have unstructured data, it can help you do that, as well as we have all of our public data sets that you can access, right?
And Kaggle is a fantastic source for data sets. Even before GenAI, I have downloaded different data sets from Kaggle to run models against it. I think once I downloaded a whole bunch of X-ray images and used our tool called AutoML to actually see, hey, can it detect what's happening in a particular X-ray? So Kaggle has amazing data sources, data sets, which you can use to get started on it.
Yeah, and we also have a lot of public data sets in our BigQuery.
BigQuery as well.
BigQuery has a lot of great public data sets. Okay, so what is the list of programming languages that it supports? I'm going to assume we're talking about Gemini Code Assist here. Yeah. So I think there's over 20 different languages that it supports.
Yep.
Right?
So the fun part about answering this question is there are 20 plus languages it officially supports, right? I remember, I think it was last year's Next when somebody came up to me and asked, hey, does it support Power Builder? I said, I've never used Power Builder, let's try. And I gave it a natural language prompt and it generated a pretty good Power Builder script. And it was not according to me that it was good because I don't know anything about Power Builder. They said it is a pretty good script. So the thing about the LLMs are they're trained on so much data. I think the languages which we say we officially support are the ones we are continuously regression testing on and we have done enough validation on. But a lot of the time I've seen it supports a whole lot more than that.
Yeah, and we did get an answer in the chat for exactly the languages, so I'm just going to read that out, but it is there if you want to look at it. Bash, C, C++, C#, Dart, Go, Google SQL, Java, JavaScript, Kotlin, Lua, MATLAB, and I'm going to stop there. But you can keep reading. There's a lot that you can play around with. And like Balaji said, maybe play around with something it says it might not support and test it out. Cool. Kind of push the limits there. Okay, if I have little to no experience coding, can I use these tools to build a complex application that caters to millions of users, or will I need a team of developers? Also, if I already have the UI UX done, can I upload to the databases files and the AI will help generate the backend?
So I remember one of our colleagues had a graph of the benefits of coding assistance. So the benefit of coding assistance was on the y-axis and the experience of the developer was on the x-axis.
Yes.
So the mapping was people with little to no experience, coding assistants are not that helpful. If you have a reasonable amount of knowledge. And then at the other end of the spectrum, people who are expert coders. They're also coding assistants probably more get in the way rather than actually helping them. So what we have seen is, yes, if you have a little bit more experience with coding, that is much more easier. And coding assistants can generate code for you, but it is not a substitute for understanding how to design good code, how to structure different code, and so on. So it understands it at the code level, but it doesn't understand it at the overall application level. One of the questions was, hey, if I have the database and the backend already built, can we build that application, right? Actually, one of the things which I've seen is people take the schema and convert it to an API, right? I think one of the capabilities within Gemini Code Assist is the ability to generate OpenAPI Spec 3.0, right? So you can actually probably give it a database schema and get it to generate a spec. And from there, you could probably say, hey, from this API spec, generate a stub app for it. Obviously, it'll just be like a mocked up app. You'll have to connect it to the backend and do all those things, but it is quite possible. And we have tried some of that out as well.
Yeah, and I will say, to reiterate what you were saying, the human in the loop portion is something that we, constantly remind people of at events and webinars like these because it's meant to help you. Gemini Code Assist is there as a helper. It's not meant to do everything for you, right? So you will have to go in there and check, and sometimes you will have to make edits because you want to do something slightly different than what it gave you. So yeah, make sure you're kind of checking in. I don't know if it would make sense to cater to millions of users just off of what it gives you, especially not in production. So always make sure you check that.
Yep.
Okay, so how much does AI app development cost?
That is a broad question.
Oh.
So if you're talking about creating a very simple app using Gemini APIs, it doesn't cost that much. It is fairly straightforward to do. But if you're talking about, hey, I want to train my own model, then your costs start adding up. So I think, I don't know if there's a better way to answer this question than that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And it also, it depends, like, how often are you going to be calling the model, right? Like, which model are you using? There's actually pricing online that I don't know off the top of my head, but there is pricing for how much each call input and output is for our newer models. I know definitely 1.5 and 2.0 are on there. So I would encourage you to go check that out.
Yep, we have a handy pricing calculator on the web to actually try that out.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, I believe that is all of our questions for today.
Best.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thanks for the engagement,
Yeah, we love to hear your questions. So, thank you for being here, for engaging. Any parting thoughts, Balaji?
No, the only thing which I would say is that Quick Labs is a lot of fun to do.
Yeah.
If you already have access to the Quick Labs, try it. And if you are joining us later on demand, try out the Code Labs.
Yeah, and I'll answer one thing here. Maybe some of you are saying, Quick Labs, Code Labs, what's the difference here? They're just two different platforms where you can do the labs. Quick Labs kind of sets up the environment for you. You can get right in and start doing it, whereas the Code Lab, you need to do a little bit more of that legwork, right? So Code Labs will be available indefinitely, and there will be some free credits that you can do, and you'll receive that via email. And the Quick Lab, as we mentioned, will be available until 11:59 PST. So please enjoy doing that. Thank you so much for joining us for another Innovators Live. Make sure to go to our website and check out our past sessions and our upcoming sessions. And let us know on the web if you complete these labs. Balaji and I would love to hear from you, how you feel about it. Thank you so much.